Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another exciting episode of Drama School Diaries. My name is Kenny Ritchie, and I'm here with my lovely friend, Miss Maravik. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm sorry if I can let you talk. We're both super excited today, and I think that's why we're just ready to jump right into it, because we're here with somebody that we actually didn't realize was also an alumnus of the same high school, the Performing Arts High School that we went to, the Los Angeles High School for the Arts. So that's part of it, but also I then got to realize that I've been a fan for probably going on 30 years now. I had originally bought their self-titled debut album in 1998, which happens to be the year that I graduated, or we graduated from LACHSA.
Penny.
And I mean, if they were tapes, I mean, back in the day when you still bought CDs, I wore that thing out. It was like one of the only like albums I've ever had where I just let every song play while I was driving. You know what I mean? I loved it. So they are a two-time Grammy Award winning founding member of the group Ozomatli, which is also one of the OG original performers involved in Coachella. And one of these little known facts that I'm super excited to talk about later, they are a black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and owner of the studio Ghetto Dojo. So we are really, really excited to speak to Mr. Ulises Bella.
Yay!
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Well, I know first off, I just want to say thank you again, because I know you have a super busy schedule. You do so much. We were watching some of your foodie videos and stuff like that. You're like all over the place doing things. So I appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us.
Oh, I mean, anything for LACHSA, you know? We're doing this. Yeah.
So we like to start off with a little bit of like an intro kind of thing where we call it state your name and where did you train? So if you can maybe tell us who you are, where you're from, and how your journey into arts education, or your education in the arts, I should say, got started.
Okay. My name is Ulises Bella. I was born here in Los Angeles. I was born in Hollywood, and in that building off of Sunset used to be the old Cedars. Now is that funky Scientology building, that blue one. That's where I was born.
Oh, that's
And
pretty
then
dope.
we lived in Hollywood, Silver Lake for a couple of years, and then my parents ended up buying a house in Southeast LA in Bell, city of Bell.
Nice.
So I kind of grew up mostly there. We moved there in 78. My dad was a violinist already. He played classical music. He was born in Spain and immigrated via France, Italy, Canada, became a Canadian citizen, ended up in LA. My mom is from Mexico City. And she came up and they met at Grand Central Market.
Yeah.
And so that's a LA story. So
Yeah.
I had music in my life from a very early age. My mom was mostly into, obviously, like a lot of music from Mexico. Singers like Javier Solis, Juan Gabriel, Pedro Infante, people like that. My dad was super into classical music, Bach. He was super into Baroque and classical. And of course, some music from Spain too. Flamenco guitarists like Paco de Lucia, Manitas de Plata, Sabicas.
Helped grow up with a lot of influence too.
Yeah, and then my mom was super into pop.
Oh, okay.
You know? So it's like
Great mix.
the
We had the whole
Beatles
thing.
and all these Beach Boys, the old,
Wow.
what we call the oldies. I don't know. Maybe oldies now is 80s music. It is.
The other day, somebody told me the oldies were the
2000s.
2000s.
I was
like,
And they were like, well, that was
what?
20 years ago.
Yeah,
And I was
because
like,
the
oh.
barometer of oldies is always K Earth 101. You're like, okay,
Yeah,
what's the
Yeah,
oldies?
exactly. But then you
And you're
start
like,
hearing
oh my
NSYNC
God,
on
that
there.
song was in my high school. Okay. But you know, when I'm thinking oldies, I'm thinking, you know, like your Chuck Berrys, your Supremes, your Motown, your Stax, your whatever. Anyways, so I grew up with all that. And then as a kid, I immediately took to music. I was really into it, and I was into whatever was popular at the time, you know, whether it was Kiss and Devo and all these bands as a kid. I remember it being a thing with my family, going to the Tower Records on Sunset on weekends, and my dad would go to the classical section and he would let me pick out a 45 for myself. Like, all right, you know, I got to.
Did you grow up like listening to him play and things like that all the time?
Yeah,
around the
I would
house?
listen to him play and stuff like that.
Is that what like got you started in
Well,
playing? Or?
I mean, just like most kids, I wanted to play electric guitar. I was just like, dude, what's up? I want to play electric. And to my dad's wisdom, he was like, you should start on piano. And so I started on classical piano first. That was like the first instrument I started playing. And by fourth grade, I was starting to pick up clarinet at elementary school. I was going to my local elementary school at the time, and LAUSC still had a pretty strong music, thing going on where they would lend you the instruments. I
Oh
don't know if you
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, and then I started getting bussed after 5th grade. So my music and my whole thing was always on the move a little bit. So started on clarinet. Then there was a very influential program that was happening at Cal State every Saturday morning. It was the Saturday Conservatory. And what it was a program for inner city youth and people who couldn't afford maybe music lessons. And every Saturday you would go there in the morning, and you would get lessons, you would get theory classes, you would get to play in an orchestra,
Wow.
and you would move up, as things would go. And that's where I ended up meeting a lot of my professors, future professors, also other people. I met Jose Crunchy Espinosa, another guy from Ozomatli there in 5th grade.
Oh,
He was
wow,
on
Ah.
okay.
clarinet, so it was a really cool program for kids that might have not been able to go to a music program where it was a little bit more pricey. So I already had a lot of experience with the Cal State LA campus
So
going
this
there
is
as
a
a kid.
separate
Yeah,
Wow.
program that was going on there for
this was like
kids.
from 5th grade all the way to 9th grade. I was going to this program, and then of course once I found out, after junior high, middle school, it's like, what high school did I want to go to? A lot of kids were going to Hamilton, right? Because that was the other school that was kind of the music more
Yeah, yeah,
with the
I almost
emphasis
forgot
on
about
Yeah.
music.
that.
Um, I ended up auditioning for LACHSA on clarinet, and immediately got
So you
accepted.
heard about it
Yeah.
through the Cal
Through Cal
State
State.
LA program.
Yes.
Because I noticed, because that you're kind of in the beginning time, like it was the first decade of the school. It hadn't been really going
I
on, I
think
think,
so. Yeah.
for very long. And I know we heard Anthony Anderson was talking about how he had been in like a community center and saw a
A
sign,
flyer.
a flyer or something on the door, and that's what made him go. So I just always like to hear about how people stumbled into LACHSA and just sort of heard about it, because
Mhm.
I think I heard about it from a friend at one of those dance studios where I took voice lessons. She was auditioning, and so it was all word of mouth. But it's just funny, before the internet, how we all, if you were involved in the arts, I feel like in some way you'd gravitate towards, you get into that
Mhm.
network.
Mhm.
So you got in then after you did, what did you audition with, the clarinet?
Clarinet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So that was your like first, like
First.
sort of love, or first?
Well, I don't know about love, but it was the one that I kind of had, because let's face it, classical piano, it was intense competition.
Mm.
I mean, you got to think, it felt like everybody was good, really good there, and um, with clarinet, I had, I guess, a talent for it that were I was already kind of advancing quicker than most of the kids, and with sax, so it just was a no brainer for me to audition on clarinet, and immediately, yeah, like I think I wanted to say I auditioned in front of Craig Kupka and a couple other people, and they immediately had accepted me right there on the spot, like, all right, you're gonna get
Nice,
in,
yeah.
so
Nice.
that was cool.
I think too, I was speaking with Trina Pritchard over at the LACHSA Foundation recently, and I think a lot of people have this idea that just because there's auditions for the school, that it's some sort of elitist, and it's just at that age. I think for a lot of young kids, you're not necessarily going to be, Mozart or Beethoven or some sort of prodigy, but they're looking for people who have the interest, the fire, and the want, or the to do it. Because I know not everybody ends up doing it or wanting to
Some
do it,
are
or,
though, like natural, just picked it up from the
yeah.
room, you
Yeah,
know?
but it's a rough schedule, I think. Like, I don't know if you guys were doing it. I think we were going from like 8 to 4 or something like
Hmm.
that. Nowadays, kids go to school from like 8 to 9:30. I
Yeah,
feel like they're
no.
out super quick. So I'm just like, we were there all day, and then doing stuff on the
Was it 8
weekends.
to 12 was the academics, correct?
Yeah, that's
Then
right.
then 1 through 4 was the
The
music.
arts electives and stuff. So it
After
was the same
lunch.
when we were there.
Yeah.
So you, I think after getting in and everything like that, do you feel like there were anything that you remember, like that was part of setting that fire blade? How long had you been playing like instruments by that point when you got there?
Well, I started piano in the 3rd grade and clarinet in the 4th, so I had already some years
By the 10th
underneath.
grade, yeah, you'd already
Yeah, I had
been.
some, and I had already was first clarinet in the LA Youth Philharmonic. I was already first clarinet and Youth Symphony West, and
Wow.
like, so I had already gone through some of the kind of more competitive things,
Yeah.
because even in that one orchestra, I remember it would be like I challenge you to the first chair. And it's like, okay, let's go. And then you have to play a passage against each other, which is kind of nerve-wracking for kids, you know. I could be, even the audition process could be kind of nerve-wracking.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
remember I had one friend that he blew his audition, and it was like, I was like, you got to do it again. Come on. He's like, I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially at that age, it's hard. Yeah, like it takes a certain
Yeah.
kind of
And
mindset.
the effect of rejection at the
Oh,
moment.
yeah.
Because sometimes we put so much importance on one particular thing at that moment as adolescence. If I don't make it, that's the end of the world. When in reality, it could just be a very, very, very small footnote in your progression.
Yeah. Well, I feel like then you're kind of different than some of the people that we've talked to, because a lot of people, this was like their first entrance into the art world, so you were already kind of exposed to it through your parents and that upbringing. Do you feel like there was a big change though? Like it was a massive, like, mind altering, I don't want to say mind fuck, but like just sort of like a huge, like, whoa, I'm in this new experience and like out of a normal school and in this, because I know LACHSA from when we went there was sort of a huge change for me from my Christian school to coming there. Like, did you feel like it was a whirlwind change or anything like
I
that?
mean, it was a change because, well, it's interesting because I already had experience in the Cal State campus
Yeah. See, you
as a
knew.
kid. So I already knew what was up with the student union and hanging out.
Oh,
I already
yes.
knew what was up with, like, going here, or, hanging out in the library, going on
And a
the
King
roof of the King
Taco.
building.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people used
Oh,
to
you
do
could get
that.
onto the roof?
Yeah,
We
we
never
figured
did that.
one time we figured out how to get up there, and just stuff like that. I already had an experience in that campus, but to be now in the mix with it. And the other thing that was really cool, I think, at the time for LACHSA was, I think it was already 11th or 12th grade that they had this thing where you could actually take college courses.
Yeah.
So
AP
I
classes.
was already studying with the head of the woodwind department at Cal State LA and on clarinet. I was already studying with the sax guy, Jeff
Which is pretty crazy
Benedict.
for like what, 17, something like
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
I was already in the mix, and I remember to the point where, because I would hang out with the university punk rockers, and they thought that was going to Cal State LA.
Mhm.
They didn't realize that I was
That
just
you
a high
were.
school kid, and when they
Yeah.
did, they were like, "What?
What?
Like what?"
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but do you feel like you had any eye-opening moments that were like, okay, this is what I want to do? Or did you already know that before you got there?
I mean, I always wanted to be a musician, and that's where you kind of start really seeing everything that music and the world of music has to offer, in the sense of like influences, people hipping you to other bands that you would have
Mm,
never, might have known. Hey, listen to this,
yeah.
or styles of music that I mean, the LACHSA music department was, especially at the time, very experimental in certain ways. I remember having like an experimental, modern, contemporary music program
Wow.
where there was remember the little hall right next to Big King Hall? There was that other like recital hall.
Right next to a little hall next to King.
Yeah, there was like King, huh? Yeah, the music hall.
Oh
So
yeah.
There's
the
right
Okay.
music hall, I
across.
remember
Yeah.
when they gave us a whole night where we could do experimental music. And one of the pieces was we had a fish bowl, and everybody picked a fish. And if the fish, swam up, we would play up. And if it was, it was
Oh,
John Cage, that type of stuff. For high school,
that's
it's
Yeah.
really
incredible.
impressive.
That they would give you
And there
the
was,
freedom. Yeah.
of course, the other thing too is that there was such high caliber of musicians already there
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
at the time. There was already a kid that I remember played flute that Juilliard already wanted
Oh
him,
my
you
gosh.
know?
Yeah, I mean, it's still, I mean, or it's not, it's just one of the, I think it is the best arts high school in
The
the
nation.
nation. And I wish that, I mean, and that's wonderful and that's great. I wish there were more, I wish that we had a lot of them all around the US. And that's kind of one of the hopes and purposes of just doing this podcast, is to let people know how important I think arts education is, because there's so many influential moments I think that all of us can look back at
Oh,
our
yeah.
time, whether it's at Arts High or at Arts College, or but I mean, were there any teachers that you had there that you remember really helped spark your fire?
Well, music or academics?
either, you know, because I had a really great French teacher, Madame Klieger
Madame
was
Krieger, yeah.
amazing. We loved her, and she
I
really,
mean,
like,
for me, there was a bunch of at both sides. There was professors, teachers that influenced me. Mr. Friedman was one of them because
Yes.
you know, he was one of those guys that I was that kid that would say we're talking about some sort of U.S. history. Oh yeah, Mr. Friedman. What about da da da? You know, that kid. It's
yeah.
like,
Nice.
and he was cool with that. He was always into engaging me and challenging me. And I took all his courses. There was one I think I even remember, like history of rock or contemporary rock or something. And he let you pick whatever band you wanted
He's
to do a
still teaching
report.
that music history class at
Yeah,
LACHSA now.
yeah.
He
So
just will not retire, and we
Mr.
love him for
Friedman
that.
was one of them for sure. Mr. Motek for his philosophy class. I almost failed his math class, but but his philosophy class, he was very. I remember him just. You'd have to stand on business if you were going to make a point,
You
and you
better
were talking
know.
Oh,
about
yeah.
something. You had to stand on because he would challenge you. Mr.
Yeah.
Motek would challenge you.
I dropped that Algebra 2 class so fast, it was so hard.
Mr. Callahan in Spanish, I remember he was a big fan of music, rock en español. So whenever my family would go to Spain or something, he'd like, yo, bring me back these CDs. And I would help, I'd help him out. And music, there was a bunch. Danilo Lozano, he was the head of the woodwind department, amazing flutist in salsa. At the time, it was mostly classical, but I didn't even know he was that good in salsa, but he was. And uh the at the time I remember it was like me, Jossie, this kid named Josh, and James King. We were like the sax section, and we were already playing amazing super sax Charlie Parker stuff, and so the level of what I think was expected as a high school kid was really really high.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. I think that they definitely expected some dedication
Yeah.
yeah.
for
I played
sure.
alto sax in 8th grade and I was like 15th chair. So I'm like, and then I discovered theater and I was like, I'm good at that. So
I'm gonna
let's focus
switch.
on that.
Yeah, I was in the vocal part of the music department. I was just like, yep, I'm gonna steer clear of that. I didn't have the dedication to sit there and just practice and play. Did you struggle with that growing up, or were you just because you grew up with it?
No, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents forced me to
Oh
practice
yeah.
too,
Do you
and
appreciate them for that though?
I
I think a lot
do,
of students
but yeah, they
look
did
back and they're
scream at
like,
me a lot
yeah.
at the time.
You got to make sure you do. But like, so what happened then after LACHSA? Did you continue your arts education or?
Yes.
Mm.
Well, what happened at the time with after LACHSA was, as a student, you figure out like, what am I going to do? It's like, do I go straight to a 4-year? And I remember I completely blew my SATs. Remember that was so important. Oh, your SATs! If you don't know the SAT, I remember completely blowing it as far as the math part was concerned. So, with those scores, it was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And a lot of my friends were going to PCC.
Yeah.
And one in particular, I remember my friend Slim, who was at LACHSA, he actually quit. He took his GED in 11th grade. He's like, I don't want to go to high school no more. I'm going straight. I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I was like, we're going to be seniors next year. We're going to run this place. I'm out of here. But he and a bunch of other friends, they went to PCC. And thankfully, at Pasadena City College, there was an amazing jazz professor at the time called named Bobby Bradford, who retired by this point, but he's still alive. And he was an amazing jazz professor. So a lot of us ended up at PCC. And that's where I met a lot of different cats from around the city. And then after PCC, I pulled the whole, like, where am I going to go? I need to go where the love is. And I need to go where I'm not going to be in debt for the rest of my life. So I auditioned to all these schools. I remember I got into USC, I got into UCLA, I got into all these music programs. But Long Beach, Cal State Long Beach was like, I will give you a free ride.
Oh my
So
God.
I ended up at Long Beach for a year and some.
So jealous.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening as through it all at PCC and at Long Beach, I was gigging. I was already playing with bands.
Okay.
And by the towards the end of, I think I had one more year to get my degree in Long Beach, and Ozomatli started taking off.
So you were just like working all the
Wow.
way
Yeah, I was working
through
because I was
school and stuff
working
like
with a
that.
bunch of other
Yeah.
bands too, and it would be one of those things where it's like I'd
Well,
be really raw from a gig the night before, and here you are at 8 in the morning, music appreciation, and it's like they're playing you Gregorian chants, and you're like,
well, so then
you know.
that sounds like a lot was going on because your Ozomatli kind of origin story, when I was looking into it, is kind of crazy and cool as well, right?
Mhm.
Because that was you were, was it union activate like a union
Yeah.
activist, and then it just kind of, well, I can let you explain it better than like
So overlaps. So in PCC, I started playing with this one ska band called Yeska, which was like a mix of traditional ska with Latin. Like it's almost like Scotalites meets Tito Puente. And we got a lot of gigs. We were like kids, but all of a sudden we got gigs opening up for Willie Colon and Tito Puente and all these really famous Jamaican artists. And one of the drummers for Yeska was working for the California Conservation Corps.
Mhm.
This at the time, post riots, LA, they had the Corps was giving a lot of jobs, to kids, inner city kids with, to clean up graffiti, plant trees, do this. This group of kids that were working for the California Conservation Corps were doing these earthquake preparedness plays.
Gosh.
Remember those? Like
Yeah.
the kids would show up to the
Yeah,
school.
I do.
What do you do? Like, okay. So
A truly Californian thing.
yes.
yeah.
So what happened was that group of workers, it was about 30 workers. They tried to form a union and try to get benefits. They all got fired
Oh man.
for trying. And then they held a big sit-in protest in the building that they worked out of, which was on 4th and Bixel in downtown LA. This was not a good look for the California Conservation Corps, because here you are giving kids jobs, but you fire them for trying to unionize. Through a mediation process, they ended up losing their jobs, but they got to keep the building that they were working at for the rest of the lease. So what they ended up doing was they renamed the building the Peace and Justice Center and turned it into kind of like this art center.
I love this. Yeah.
So it was a lot of bands came out of it. A lot of businesses came out of it. There were people living there. There was a cafe in there. There was graffiti in the back. There were skateboard ramps. There was band rehearsals, dance rehearsals. And the gist of it was every weekend they would throw parties to help maybe raise money for the center.
Mhm.
And people amongst each other who were musicians, who kind of knew each other, were like, hey, you want to come down and jam for the Peace and Justice Center? We're raising money for it. Sure. So as people started showing up, those were the people who ended up being in Ozomatli, like the people who
Yeah.
were kind of in the circle. So interestingly enough, most of the guys in my band went to Hamilton.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm like the only LACHSA
That's-
kid from that. And so
But that's
LACHSA,
is that like part of like how,
Fairfax, all those
yeah.
schools, we all kind of ended up in this band.
Because I think one of the things I love is, I mean, now you hear more like of, different, you know, the influence of different kind of types of music and things like that. But like when back then, I think that's what I fell in love with when I first heard that album, was just like, it was new, it was different. We weren't really hearing a lot of these mixtures. And it was just like, how did that come out of that? Like, is that part of like maybe coming from LACHSA as well?
And also coming from a space of, I remember the first rehearsal being very chaotic, and what are we going to do? Because we were going to rehearse for this gig to raise money, but we didn't have no songs. We didn't have, so everybody kind of looked at each other. It's like, well, what do you know? I know cumbia. I know a cumbia song, and I know this song. And Cut Chemist was on the floor with his turntables. And so it was more of a plan of what are we going to do,
Yeah.
that kind of forced the blend. And also the traditions of each individual, because some guys were more schooled than others. So some guys was like more, I studied salsa, merengue, cumbias, and this. Oh, and another guy's like, I came more from a funk or reggae background. I studied jazz, I do this, I do
Yeah.
that. And through that blend of all those backgrounds, I think it was but here's the thing that kind of unified it all. We were all about, let's get people to dance.
Mm.
So like, let's get people to
Yeah.
start getting down. Like it was one of the things, whatever music it was, it had to be dance based.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's Ozomatli is the monkey,
Little
the
god of
the
dance,
dance,
Oh.
which our drummer, before we were called Ozomatli, we were called Todos Somos Marcos because it was the mid 90s and the Zapatista movement was a big deal. But we were looking for another name, and our drummer at the time was like, "Hey, Anton, hey, why don't we call ourselves Ozomatli?" We're like, "What is that?" He's like, "Well, it's a little monkey on the in the horoscope, the Mexica horoscope, and he's the god of dance, and he's the orchestrator of the jungle,
Yeah.
and he's a mischievous monkey." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And it turns out that that was his birth sign. So
yeah,
You're the
it
monkey.
that's
I'm
how
here the monkey
it must be an
too.
80 fire monkey.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
that's why I was like, I love it. But is it just sort of like out of jamming with all these different types of
Yeah.
backgrounds, you sort of just came up with this original sort of sound, you know?
We from jamming in the blend,
Yeah.
and not every blend would be great,
Mm.
but there was certain things, like for example, some guys never heard a cumbia, a Colombian cumbia, but then they knew reggae, and I remember Will Dog being like, "Oh, but this type of reggae bass line fits great over that rhythm." And then all of a sudden there was that blend of cumbia reggae that
Mhm.
a lot of people I don't think had done before. So that's always been our thing, where we try to blend styles in a way that kind of, I guess, birth a new style, because, or in Spain, I remember people used to call it música mestizaje, a mixed music, a mix of a mestizo mix, a mix of all kinds of different things, a gumbo.
Mm.
And that's kind of been our signature, especially being out from LA. One of the quotes I used to always say back in the day was, "The sound of Ozomatli is you driving in traffic on Sunset Boulevard on a weekend, and all the music coming out of everybody's different cars mixing together."
I
Like, in
love
a
that.
way,
That
Nice.
is
even though
actually
it's
like,
like
it's
could
good.
be
Yeah.
cacophonous, but when it's perfect, when it's right, when all those
It's like a
and
perfect
all
little
the things
mashup.
of what makes LA,
Yeah.
the hip hop, the soul, the funk, the cumbia, the reggae,
Oldies.
the ranchera, the whatever,
Yeah.
everything whatever has come out of LA and has a dominant sound. Then from there, from LA, we started touring nationally, and we started gaining influences that were more national, visiting cities like Chicago, New Orleans, New York, especially New Orleans. It was a big musical tradition.
Yeah, I went to New Orleans once and I was like, I can't stay here. I would never leave the gutter. I was just like, the music, the alcohol, all of it was so good. I was like, I
Yeah.
got to go. This place can be dangerous
The
for
music
certain
is
types of
great, right?
musicians.
And
Yeah.
it's one of the few places where it's still cool for kids to play horn,
Yeah. Well, you're multidisciplined, right? So like you play a lot of instruments, right?
Yeah.
Just besides,
Yeah.
so did that start out, or like, did you get exposed to it by listening to other people in like school, or what made you decide to
Well,
start picking up different
even in
instruments?
school, I was super into wanting to play different music styles.
Mhm.
And I even remember being that I was so schooled in piano, clarinet, and sax, like taking lessons and more formal training, that in junior high, when I picked up the guitar, my whole thing was like, I don't want to. I did take lessons on guitar, but at a certain point, I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to learn guitar. I want to just play punk rock songs.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun with it. And to that, I even remember before the jazz concert, Craig let everybody do their own little ensembles.
Mhm.
So you could play any kind of music you wanted to.
Yeah.
And I remember my little group, we ended up playing like a Ministry song,
Oh my
like
gosh.
super
Wow.
industrial rock kind of thing. And it was, and what other school does that? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, that's the thing about LACHSA, is like, what other school lets the kids do and express themselves in that form?
Hey everyone, quick reminder, with everything going on right now, supporting the arts matters more than ever. And that's exactly what LACHSApalooza is all about. May 30th at the Greek Theater, it is happening. We're raising funds for the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, one of the most elite and inspiring arts programs for young talent in the country. With your ticket, you're getting nonstop energy performances from students across all departments, showing just how next level this program really is. And we've got incredible LACHSA alumni who've been on our podcast and are hitting the stage live. Ulises Bella, 2-time Grammy-winning founder, member of Ozomatli, Gretchen Parlato, 3-time Grammy-nominated jazz vocalist, and April Showers, founder of Afro Unicorn, a multi-million-dollar brand built on representation, empowerment, and impact. Plus, surprise celebrity guests still to be announced. So don't wait. Get your tickets now on Ticketmaster, lock in your spot, and check out their podcast episodes too. This is LACHSApalooza. Don't miss it.
I mean, shifting gears, I think a little bit too, like, because speaking, about your current things and your current projects, stuff like that, you guys have been doing this for 30 plus years, you're still touring, still releasing. Like, how do you continue? Because I know mental health, especially, I feel like for I always am telling people that when I talk to people who are still, or who haven't, like, I bridged off into environmental health and safety now, it's like the people that are still going and still in the industry. I'm like, how is it that you deal with all of that? You got years of all that, rejection, as well as like putting yourself out there and just, different difficult kind of projects and things like that. How do you take time as a performer who's been doing this for so long to keep it fresh, to still find the love for it, to still, do things? Do you take care of your mental health, or like, do you
Oh,
perform new things? Or...
you I mean, sure, when you start and you're in your 20s, you're raging. You're chomping at the bit.
Mhm.
You don't care. Like, I was living out of a bag for 8 months out of the year.
Mm.
We would tour extensively, be on a bus. It was just running in the red. It
Yeah.
was all, and as that, of course, time goes, sure, certain things start taking a toll,
Mhm.
whether it's people in the band, substance issues, family issues, because you got to think some guys had kids during
Yeah.
this time.
Mhm.
It's like you're missing a lot of what their lives during that time if you're always on the road.
Mhm.
Um, it does wear on you, and we had to adapt and change through the years to help that. Like,
Yeah.
we're not just hitting the road all day, all the time anymore because.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like we have to have a purpose. We have to be there for a reason. And because, for example, we were in our 20s, hey, you guys want to go to Europe, do a European tour? You're barely going to come out even.
Oh,
You
wow.
might even lose money, but it's going to be an awesome experience. Sign me up. I'm down. Like, let's
Yes.
do it.
Yeah.
Now I'd be like, what? Am I just going to go to Europe just for nothing? We've already done it.
Yeah.
We've already been there.
I'll just take a vacation.
So maybe it's a little bit kind of get jaded about certain
Yeah.
things, but that's natural. You've done it for so long, and it can wear you down,
Mhm.
and mental health wise, yeah, it definitely affects all artists and musicians, whether it's not only your own personal progression or where you think you should be, but also just the struggles of the industry and where it's going and
Yeah.
how you fit in it.
Yeah.
How do you deal with like the rejection or the talk or the just the haters, that when people have something, the over opinionated social media lovers?
Ozo has haters, but not that many. And
Mhm.
interestingly enough, we don't. I mean, I don't know what it is,
Do you
but
just kind of avoid the negativity anyway?
um,
Yeah.
as far as like online and our social media, we don't really and deal with that much
Mhm.
negativity. I think our issue with online is more kind of like or a lot of our OG fans were pre-internet.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of building now where do we stand? Where do we get to where our numbers reflect just as much as any other band that's been around for so long.
I
So
see.
content,
Yeah.
always constantly thinking about what we can push because again, it's crazy how much music and how the consumption of music has changed from when we started to this point, you
Well,
know.
what are
So,
some major changes that you've noticed over the
Well,
like the
off the
last few
bat,
decades?
you got to think we got signed mid 90s
Mhm.
and we got signed to Almo Records, which was a boutique label by Jerry Moss and Herb Alpert, which
Okay.
was the guys who owned
Mm.
A&M Records. They started another label, and they're like a boutique label. We only want certain bands that we like, we're cool with. So the biggest band at the time on Alma was Garbage. And then there was us and a couple, like, it was a very small label, and it was a perfect place for us because here's the thing. Back in that time, CDs still mattered.
Mhm.
Buying music still mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gave you an actual serious budget, like $500,000. Here you go.
Yeah.
All you guys are going to live off of it and record your album.
Mm.
The idea of being in a studio, the idea of pre-production, grinding it out. Like we spent a month in this one downtown rehearsal just to get our album perfect. Nowadays, unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore as
Mm.
far as how much money they give you, how you
Mhm.
to survive and to live. And not only that, but being that music has kind of become a more of a promotional vehicle, no one really wants to buy it.
So it's like less, or it's like worse
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, it's worse now
Oh,
in that
mm.
sense. It's like the there's these things called 360 deals where the labels would want like a cut of your merch.
Mm.
They
Ah,
want a cut of this, they want a cut of that.
What?
Back in the day, merch was sacred. It's like,
Yeah.
yo, that's the
Yeah.
bands.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you want like a percentage of this while we're grinding in the road? But now they want that. They
Mhm.
want some of them want publishing, which was another thing, which is a big deal because that's really where you get the money generated from licensing, or if your song was in a movie or things like that, they want a cut of that. So there's a lot of changes in the music industry, and from when I started, and some may I would try not to be too jaded about it because I want to. It's all for the worse, but there are some cool things about what's going on now. I think that
Mhm.
one of them, for example, is that a kid can blow up without the machine,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is really
Gotcha.
impressive because back in the day when we were first starting, every band was always like, well, we got to get signed. We got to get signed. We have to be, we can't leave our little town or big town, without getting signed and getting tour support and this and that. Nowadays, you could blow up without the machine and actually make a dent in the music
I
industry.
suppose it's different too, you came from both eras, the era of selling CDs to now
Yeah.
selling digitally. So it's like,
Yeah, streaming.
yeah.
Well, it was like selling CDs, and Napster. Remember Napster?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and then LimeWire, where you would give your computer hepatitis from like downloading, I don't know what, and then
Yeah,
it
you have to go
was
through a few computers. Yeah.
yeah, and then it turned into now what it is, because it was piracy was Wild Wild West vibes, and now it's streaming, and then now that has its own issues. So
So there's just issue. It's not so much about being better or worse. There's just always issues.
yes,
Yeah.
and now the big one is AI music.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
What does that mean for us artists?
Yeah. What do you guys deal with when it comes to that? Because I know it's so all new. Or you just still combating that?
No,
and
well,
getting it
people
like,
can use it as tools. I'm not that bummed out of people maybe using it from like a jump off starting point or tool.
Mhm.
But where it's a bummer to me is like a perfect example is this. It's like I read somewhere that in a month, like music composed by real human beings, it could be like up to 80,000 songs in one of these companies, or let's just say Spotify, whatever.
Mhm.
AI will dump 1 million. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden there's all this fake, because you can't compete with that. You prompt it, you just come in out. And my whole thing sometimes is when people ask me, what advice could you give kids? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
what can you do that a robot can't?
Right?
Yeah.
What can you, because there's going to be, and as much as
But
I
I mean,
want,
like an AI could write a song, but are they going to write a song like a human's going to write a song?
and maybe not right now,
Yeah,
but that it's always getting better.
I'm
Because if
just
I
wondering
remember
if they
AI,
imagine your style and they copy your style enough, can they start to just sound like you? That it is very similar.
but the big one thing that just happened not too long ago is that they said that none of these AI songs can be copyrighted. So it's like, where's that money going then? Who's going to get that?
Yeah.
Because it's all just, because what is AI doing but just mining from the past,
Yeah.
from creativity of the past? So I wish it would just like cure cancer instead of blowing the gig. But that's where we're at. You know, that's where we're doing. And I think one thing that I also noticed, and this was during the pandemic, was the one thing, because Ozomatli, we've had some commercial success, but we never had that one song that was like, it blew up, where it was everywhere, ubiquitous, where to the point of hate, right?
I don't know, Cumbia de los Muertos was like, I love
But
that
yes,
song.
yeah, that's probably, well, in South America, that was kind of like a
Yeah.
semi-hit, you know, but we never had, but the thing that I always felt was really kept us afloat, really kept us with our reputation, was our ability to deliver an amazing live show.
Mm.
And to this day, I don't see that being replaced. To me, they could throw a hologram of Tupac on
Yeah.
stage, but the idea, because one of the things, especially in COVID, bands were scrambling. We didn't know what we were going to do. Was live music ever going to come back? So I remember us organizing those like online concerts. And I remember the first one going well, like a lot of people tuning in, watching it, playing, you know. But by the second or third one, there was a fatigue, I think. Look, you know, there's only so much fun you can look at while you're standing on your,
Yeah,
you're sitting on a
virtually.
couch watching a computer screen. The primordial, primitive aspect of having bodies in a room all synced up to a beat
Yeah.
is
And that connective vibe that you feel of the
connection.
energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The feeling the music in your
Yeah,
chest,
'cause I
bumping
remember.
into people. All of us are here for a
Experiencing.
reason.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
It
remember somebody say, I remember reading a study or something when I was younger that there's like a like literal energy jet, like vibes that we're vibrating at, and you can walk in, you can feel it when you walk into rooms with people who are you know, at a different energetic, like
Yeah.
they're more calm and chill, and it's like, so when you get all those, you know, energies going together, it's the connection that you can't really,
Yes.
Is
you
that how
know,
Coachella
explain.
started?
I'm sorry?
Is that how Coachella started? That like
I don't know if that's
or
how Coachella started, but
the
it's an
idea of it?
aspect of any music festival where the people, there's so many people, and if everybody's kind of on this same wavelength,
Mhm.
it really creates something.
Was it
And
anywhere near as big as it is now when you guys first started it out, or
no,
yeah.
I mean, we've played so many festivals through the years, really big ones.
Yeah.
And I even remember playing like EDC back in the day
Oh,
in
wow.
San Bernardino,
Yeah.
you know, and playing, but some of the bigger ones we've ever done is like Glastonbury in England, Fuji Rock in Japan. Like hundreds of thousands of people are at these festivals. So um it's and Coachella being the type of festival, it's like definitely took its influence from those European festivals,
Mm.
you know.
Well, if playing live is a skill that will keep us separate from AIs, I think you guys won't have any problem. I saw you guys, I think it was 2005 at Grand Park, when you did that show there. I mean, you guys are really awesome live. You know, there's not everybody has that same, you know, energy or get, but also there's just nothing that's going to replace seeing, you know, this huge, amazing
Hopefully,
band, you
yeah,
know,
we'll
play.
see. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe they have like replicants like Blade Runner. They can play instruments all of a
Oh
sudden. I don't know,
gosh.
I don't know. I hope
but
not.
that's the thing that still, I think, as musicians and as bands, is performing live and connecting to an audience,
Hmm.
whether it's a 50,000 people or 100 people in a room, 50 people in a room. It's something that's really special that I think it's, you know, when it's all said and done and there's no more electricity in the planet and there's a bit, you know, people are blacked out, the system's done, there'll still be people playing music, and
Yeah.
that's how we'll connect
Yeah, for
always.
sure. I mean, do you feel like there's something that your arts education, besides the technique, gave you that you still utilize in, you know, now in your career and what you're doing?
Um, just I think the training of what it means to be a performer. I remember teachers, you know, how you act on stage, where your eyes go, uh, what you should or shouldn't do on stage. All that stuff has carried
It
on.
all still lives.
And in some ways, you know, we were talking about the audition process. We were talking about all those, like, I don't know if you remember juries. Remember
Mhm.
Yeah.
juries?
Hmm.
like
That's nerve-wracking.
nerve-wracking cold sweat,
Those are
like
definitely more musician style, but juries are intense. They're like
very
really.
intense. For people who don't know what a jury is, it's like it was part of the process, especially in music schools, where you would have to play your music by yourself or with an accompanist in front of 3 professors or 4 professors
We're just reading the music
who are
while
just
you.
looking at you, and every little mess up you do, they're tuk, 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 tuk.
Check.
So
Yeah.
so they're like they're all over it, and it's very nerve-wracking. So now playing shows is easy.
Yeah,
You know,
because
like
you've been through
Yeah.
I
that.
mess up, no one knows.
You're
Yeah.
like,
It's all good.
Yeah.
I could blow chunks, and people are like, oh yeah, he's just, you know, it's all. But whereas a jury, the microscope is on you. It's so nerve-wracking that I remember playing even things like the Bach Festival as a little kid, and playing Inventions and being so like racked out of my nerve that I have to play it perfect, and da, da, da. It felt like the world was on my shoulders. But now I'll play big festivals with thousands and thousands of people. I'm like, whatever's, you know, it doesn't work my nerves like
Hmm.
that.
nice.
Yeah.
So like now we kind of went through like how things worked in your 20s and 30s, but like now, what would a typical day look like? Like, do you get up, do you meditate, or it's different?
I just turned 51, which is a very
Congratulations!
which is
Yeah,
a very
recently, right?
Happy
Like a
belated
week
birthday.
ago or so.
uneventful birthday, kind of like, oh, you're 51. I had a party for my 50th, but 51, I was like, oh, whatever. I'll go to Sizzler. Um, uh,
We just go
Love
pass
Sizzler.
by.
We love
Yeah.
Sizzler with no shade.
yeah. So, nowadays I try to balance a lot. I think that's what it is. As we get older, we try to balance our life, our music, and our own personal things, our families.
Right.
So it can be very difficult. There was I remember a year where I was dealing with my mother-in-law in hospice, and then my own mom in hospice. And that's definitely one of those moments in my life where it was like mental health was a big thing, because
Yeah.
I was needing help at a certain point. I wasn't sleeping right. I was my cortisol was through the roof, and I needed help. And so I reached out for help, and I got help. And
Nice.
definitely after a year of some medication and meditation, because I, you know, at that point I was trying to do it all: meditation, sound therapy, going for long walks, doing all these things that, you know, to try to help just bring your whole thing down a little bit. So nowadays it's kind of I'm in a good place, I think, where I still take care of my dad. But he doesn't need as much help as you know. He's gonna turn 88, so he's up there, but he's doing all right. And I try to stay busy, just
Yeah.
do different things. Just recently, of course, there's the band. Also, I'm involved with another LACHSA alumnus, Dolly Colorado. She's spearheading this compilation that's going to help people affected by the ice raids.
Oh, nice. Very
So it's
cool.
called Contra Ice. You can find it on Instagram too. And the level and eclecticism of the artists that contributed to the comp is really impressive. It's
Yeah.
like all kinds of bands and artists. So that should be coming out, I think, end of April.
Yeah.
Should be coming out. So that's a real cool project that I helped get involved in, and help Dolly out, facilitate whatever she wanted to, and just whatever I can, you know, do to keep my you know, the momentum.
Yeah. Well, I mean, aside from that, I know you're also in May going to be at the Greek Theater for LACHSApalooza, right?
Yes.
Which is also with the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts.
Yeah.
Some of you guys may hear us call it LACHSA, but that's just what we lovingly refer to
Yeah.
Los Angeles County for the High
High
School,
School
for
for
the
the
Arts.
Arts.
Yeah. But they're doing this big event coming up at the Greek Theater, and you're going to be there, right?
Yes, we're going to be there, and I believe we're going to be like kind of like a house band for the event.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Yeah,
So
that's gonna be really
so
cool.
John B was in my class. Shout out to John
I didn't know
B.
you guys were in the same
Yeah,
class.
we
I
were in,
love
and
that.
you know what? That cat was about it even then. He was such a like the R&B smooth cat. That was him in high school. I was like, oh dang, John B,
Yeah,
man.
I just randomly rang in the new year as seeing John B in a concert, like at the music.
And his brother played cello. So
That's what an awesome kind of group to be with, though. But I think Gretchen Parlato's going to be
Gretchen,
there.
I believe Fritz and the Tantrum. Fitz, I think, went to LACHSA too. James was in my class, the saxophone player for that band was in my class, and I'm trying to remember Robert Vargas, another guy, the muralist.
Yeah,
He's
it's
a real famous
the
muralist.
last time I went last year, it was really cool. Like, it's just they had Anthony Anderson hosting, and it was just
Oh,
a
in
really
downtown LA.
yeah.
I was at that one too.
Oh, you were there? Okay,
Yeah, I was
just
there.
yeah, that was it was,
Yeah.
and you get to see it's kind of like the best of the year kind of thing. They bring out all these really wonderful projects that they're working on, ensemble and solo artists, but they also have things like I didn't know they have a fashion department now,
and
they did
TV, like the TV production
yeah,
too, right?
cinema arts program, and they were recording for a documentary when I was there, but they had this whole runway show, and I was like, what? Like when we went back to do a visit, I don't know if you've been, they do these open houses every year at LACHSA, and they opened it all up. It was so weird and neat getting to go back and the green room at State Playhouse and all that stuff, and the going up to the 5th floor of King Hall and watching those classes. It was
they have their own facilities now.
Yeah, they have
on Lot F, which used to be the Lot F,
and we get to
where
go
kids used to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, now they have a whole school.
Now that's a whole school there. So
and smoke other things, but yeah, they have a songwriting class, and they have all these things. I try not to get super jealous, but I go back every time.
It
and
is
I'm like,
kind of jealousy,
easy.
but I mean, I guess the trade-off was that we were way more feral, and the freedom was just out of control, and also just I guess the energy of I felt like it felt everybody in the school, the creativity feeling of what people wanted to do and could do, and the way they express themselves was really kind of impressive.
Amazing. Yeah, it was a really neat environment to be in. Hey everyone, listen, with everything that's going on in the world right now, we know how vital it is to keep the arts alive. And that's really what LACHSApalooza is all about. In celebration of the 40th anniversary, the LACHSA Foundation is presenting LACHSApalooza, a benefit arts and music festival on May 30th at the Greek Theater. All proceeds support the LACHSA Foundation and its mission to advance the exemplary arts education programs at the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, serving 550 student artists every year across Los Angeles County. One night, one mission, $2.5 million for LACHSA's future. This incredible night will feature interactive art and performances from LACHSA's award-winning alumni, including Ulises Bella and Ozomatli, John B., and multi-Grammy Award nominees Gretchen Parlato and Gerald Clayton, along with Afro Unicorn founder April Showers, and additional special guests to be announced. We've been lucky enough to feature some of these incredible artists on the podcast, and now they'll be joining us live at LACHSApalooza. So get your tickets now at Ticketmaster, and don't forget to check out their podcast episodes. Come support the arts and be part of something truly meaningful. Yeah. Feral is one word from it. We didn't start recording when we first got here, but he was telling us about some crazy senior pranks they used to do. I wish I was still a part of that. So anyway, I know we're starting to wind down. Like, what would you say to the young Uli that was just starting at LACHSA?
Oh, well, it's different because at that time, LACHSA, okay, here's my thing with kids. I don't ever want to be like, are you sure you really want to do this? I don't know. Being really jaded about the music industry is really easy for me and whatever's, but lately my thing to tell kids is this, and I don't know, maybe this is really raw, but I'll say, hey, are you doing this for the money? Like the money? Like, what's up? It's like, if it's about the money, don't do it, dude. Don't do it.
I think that's really good, though.
Like,
I feel like
if it's about, you can't see yourself doing anything else. If it's about you're ready to eat ramen noodles for a whole year or whatever, like grind, and you don't care, you just got that fire, then do it. Like that's you. But if it's about, oh, I'm trying to blow up, I'm trying to, drive a Ferrari, whatever.
Get so
Dude,
many
be a
views.
lawyer,
Yes.
homie.
Yeah.
Like go do something that for sure is gonna
You
get
can
you
get a
that.
lot of
Be a
views being a
crypto
lawyer. You know
bro.
what I mean? You don't have to
Or whatever.
stay out of
Be
this
something
industry.
that's gonna for sure bring that money that you're attached to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your whole motivation is just the money, you might get your heart broken in this industry,
Yeah.
because it could be rough unless special circumstances. I don't know. Maybe, your trust, you got a sweet trust fund. It don't matter to you. Like, dad's going to fund it. That's cool. But for average kids, I think for kids that growing up, if this is a calling for you,
Mm-hmm.
like go do it. Like if you have the drive and the fire to do it, there's nobody but especially me to tell you not to do it. Do it, because that's really for me. That's what's
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like we were touching on earlier too, because I think people forget 90% of show business is business, and trying to keep it, separating what you love from a job is difficult. And I think
for
that's what I was
sure.
trying to ask you, like, how do you keep it?
And at the end of the day, it's not really about talent,
Mhm.
or is it?
Mm.
Sometimes,
Yeah, I was like, is it not? I hope not. Well, I mean,
it could
these
be. No,
days
I'm
it's
saying
not.
you could be
Yeah.
really, really. I know so many people who are so good
Oh,
in
yeah.
high school that they just don't do music anymore.
Yeah.
And
There are people that I'm sad that they don't because they were so,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Like, how is it you don't man,
Yeah.
I get it. So in a lot of ways, I consider myself, I mean, sure. Did I, pay my dues? Sure. I did all these things,
How do you push past that?
but
Yeah.
I think a lot of it had to do with, I mean, some ways luck,
Mhm.
right? And being around other individuals who were, if not more motivated than me, like guys that were like, we're doing this, man. I remember in Ozomatli being so thirsty that we would call anybody to play. So let's say, for example, one time I remember we played 3 times in a day, like
Oh,
3, 4
wow.
times. We would play like here, there. And I remember one time, in fact, right down the street over here in Highland Park, Zach de la Rocha had a space from Rage Against the Machine, and there was a concert going on there. We called up because we knew Lalo, and we're like, "Hey, man, we want to play too." Sorry, there's no more space. The lineups are no. How about we play between the bands? We'll set up on the opposite side of the stage. We just want to play. We'll play for
yeah. I
free.
love that. Yeah.
And that was the mentality. That was the mentality. We will grind and we want to push it. Having a show in Pomona the next day in the morning, we had a play for thousands of farm workers up in Watsonville. How are we going to do it? I'll tell you how. We're going to drive all night right after the gig in Pomona.
It's
Yeah.
dedication, man.
And make it there by.
I think it's also growing up in LA too. It's like if you don't do this, there's 30
Somebody
other
else.
people, 300
Yeah.
other people
Yeah.
right behind
Yeah.
you that will do that.
Grind it. So
Yeah,
like, let's
so
go. So
you got to
being
really
around
love it
that
and really
kinda
want to do it.
hustle
Yeah.
definitely inspired me, because there's guys in my band that their hustle was off the charts
Mm.
as far as like getting things
Getting
done and
done.
making things happen. And I had to learn from that because
Yeah.
I was a little bit more kind of like, well, things will happen, kind of typical artist vibe. As long as I hold my flag up, people will see it. And, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Then
but
you gotta
yeah,
go.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true. That's actually really good advice. So, well, we are getting close to the end, and at the end, we like to do a little quiz game that we play.
Rapid fire.
Little rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You don't have to think too hard about the answers. It's actually, if you ever used to watch
Studio.
Inside the Actors Studio, it's a little like tribute to that little
yes,
last
yes.
anything. So, just 10 questions. No need to like spend too long on it. And yeah, are you ready to go?
Yes.
For sure. All right. What is your favorite word?
Favorite word?
I was like, I'll take that as a word.
Mine's pendejo. No, I'm just kidding.
Pendejo, you say that? Sure, we'll say that with pendejo.
Yeah, we can go with that. All right, I love it. All right, what sound do you love?
What sound do I love? The Indian tambora, which was the instrument that creates that drone, and also a purring cat.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing like, there's something to them when
I've heard it's like
They
healing.
heal
it is.
you.
It's
Yeah,
healing. It's a healing vibration.
Yep.
Good one. Yeah, yeah. What sound do you hate?
When they're cleaning your teeth, and with that one machine, that
The drill
knocks
or
the grinder.
and also the one that kind of takes off all the plaque,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's really high pitched and it resonates through your whole skull. Oh,
That's
and
giving me
also,
goosebumps just thinking about it.
tinnitus in general.
Love it.
Musicians know that one.
Yeah. What is your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word. Well, yeah, I mean, fuck is always forever, right? Fuck.
Fuck is a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. What profession would you not like to?
Getting tickets.
Oh yeah.
Like, you're just gonna get it from everybody. Like you're garbage, like, even though I'm sure you're good, maybe you're a decent human being, but people are be like, people get a real job.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like,
I'm not gonna lie, I've yelled a few things at a meter maid before. So
yeah, meter maids, handing out tickets.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, well, Bobby Bradford forever, man. Save your money. and I mean, it might sound like whatever's right, but I remember going up to him, Bobby, I want to be a musician. I want to be a cat, man. He's like, well, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm listening to all the best. I'm doing practicing. And he's like, you know what else you got to do? You want to be a real musician? Save your money. And I was like, oh yeah. It just, as a musician, sometimes it takes a second to reflect.
Money, what's that?
Yeah, because sometimes as artists, we have a tendency to, like, not be too financially savvy in certain things and spend our money on dumb shit. And I remember when I got my first little chunk of money from getting signed with Ozomatli, Bobby was already like, don't be spending it on stupid shit, like clothing, jewelry, whatever. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I remember that just resonating in my head, save your money. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to invest in myself. And that money, I ended up buying a really, really nice saxophone, so invest on yourself, so that was one of them for sure.
Treat yourself, right?
Treat yourself, yeah.
Exactly. What's a movie you could watch endlessly?
Oh, there's a couple in there. Well, for sure, Blade Runner would be one of them because I love the soundtrack. I love that it's set in LA. And it's just filmed, and it's a slow burn movie, so it's like you can watch it and almost fall asleep to it.
Is it the original?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who's like the director's cut or whatever, because the original, I think, had that narration in it that people didn't like. But Blade Runner is a movie, and what's another movie that I could watch endlessly? Probably The Warriors or something like that. That just, as a kid, I watched it a lot.
The
So
Warriors. Why do it sounds familiar, but I can't remember that.
that's the one about the street gangs in New York.
Oh wait, yeah, I think I remember
It's
that.
very colorful, and it's like each gang had a little personality.
Yeah, that's a good. All right, I like it. Okay, how would you like to be remembered?
Huh.
Deep one. Just throw a deep one in there real quick.
Um, that's an interesting question because sometimes I think about it in the sense that we're all just characters in each other's movies. I'm just somebody in your movie right now, like you've been, and
I've kind of always thought of it like that too. That's
kind of like we're all just characters in each other's movies. So I hope my character just made you laugh and made you had a good time. Like, gives you good memories and good feelings when you thought about me.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to.
Give that vibe. So I feel like, I
mean, it. We come into contact and with each other, and we're all going to the same place, right? We're all, there ain't no reverse on this train.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's
We're all
all
getting older, and sooner or later, we're all going to see an end.
see the same
So, with
end.
that in consideration, that we're all kind of headed to that, it's like we should be way nicer to each other. We should be so much more loving to each other. We're all in this kind of like existential thing that I feel like we should all. I think Bukowski had a quote like that, where it's like we're all kind of headed towards the end. We should be definitely more loving to each other, nicer to each other, because that I don't know. I that's what I guess is like. I hope I brought joy to you. Just made you laugh, hung out with you and did something nice for you, and that's about it. Because legacies and things like that, what does it matter after you're dead? There was that, I don't know if you saw that one. It was kind of raw. Like Mike Tyson, some little kid was trying to interview Mike Tyson, and it was like, what do you think about your legacy? And Mike Tyson got kind of real with the kid, like, what is legacy? It don't matter nothing. You're gonna die. Who cares? And in a lot of ways, it's kind of true. Like, what does it matter at the end of when you're dead, and who cares how people are gonna remember you?
Mm,
I just hope that I brought joy to people, and especially with my music. And I've already, gotten people come up to me and said, like, your music got me through some really, really hard times in my life, or it's really brought me a lot of joy. So
yeah, I would agree that your music has definitely brought me some joy. So that's be cool to have somebody come up
Yes,
and
absolutely.
say that. So I think that's pretty neat. If you could live in any era in history, when would it be?
Oh, wow. That's always a funky question, because you are where you are, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
how could you see yourself?
I also find it funny. Some people take these to different places too. So it's interesting to
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I part of me would say, like, maybe during the golden era of jazz in New York, when like Charlie Parker and all these amazing people were playing, Miles Davis, Coltrane, and they're all just like, I don't know what that would be, like early 60s. Then again, though, there's something about when I grew up, like 80s, that
Mhm.
I really kind of like, thinking about it now. I'm like, wow, that was a really cool time. And maybe if I was a little older, I could have taken advantage of it more or not. But, the fact that there was no phones, there was no
I think the same
nothing.
things lately too, actually.
Like,
I must be getting old, but I'm starting to think the 80s was a good time. I'm like,
Yes.
well, I'm
80s was
sure
fun, but
it,
it
it
was.
did have a lot of negatives too, of
Oh
course,
yeah.
for
Drugs,
sure.
AIDS, yeah.
AIDS
But
But
and
not being
Reagan, whatever. But,
Reagan.
but
but being so connected to each other
I
more
mean,
so than we are now, I think was
yeah, like
definitely.
riding your bike with your friends, and and just
I just had calves of
Being
steel. I rode
outside.
I rode my bike everywhere.
like just being outside until the street lights came on,
Yeah.
that type
Yeah.
of thing. Those were really good times. And I feel bad in some ways for the kids nowadays, because exactly that. It's like, someone films you doing something stupid, and all of a sudden it follows you your whole life. I'm glad that like nobody filmed me doing dumb shit, because I did plenty of dumb shit back in the day. That I mean, whatever's, just like, oh, that just is gone. It's
Yeah.
just history.
Last rapid fire question, which I'm almost embarrassed to ask because we talked about Mike Tyson's legacy. But if heaven exists, what would you like God to say when you get there?
If heaven exists, what would I like God to say if I got there? That's assuming I'm going, though.
Yeah.
Is this?
He's like, oh, I'm sorry, you got off on the wrong floor.
Right.
That's assuming, because I'm going to be in hell with my friends.
That's what he said. That's all he
You
says. Oh, I'm
know,
sorry, you're not supposed to be here.
that's an interesting question, because it opens up a lot of kind of like kind of theological kind of
Mhm.
things, and kind of like,
Existential question.
yeah, and just like,
Yeah.
what did it all mean?
Yeah.
What does this all mean? Was this just kind of like you having a good time, like, and it for your entertainment, or was there a purpose to this? And if there was a purpose, then I don't know. It's kind of like that Depeche Mode song. It's like Blasphemous Rumors. Remember? Do you ever remember the lyrics of that? It's like, and when I die, and I see God, I expect him to be laughing.
Mm.
You know, because you know, it's just like the absurdity of life sometimes is almost like, how else can you take it but laugh?
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
it's just like the
I
reason,
actually like
Like,
that.
ah!
the
Yeah.
rhyme or reason why things happen.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Okay.
why is it that I'm still alive? I'm 51 and I've already outlived some of my
Yeah.
heroes. You know, like, what
Mhm.
is it?
None of it makes sense.
I-
But
that person that gets lung cancer never smoked a cigarette in their life.
yeah.
The
Mhm.
person who can't read, but all of a sudden they're like a billionaire. Like,
Ye
wait a minute. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
how these things happen or whatever happens. It's the absurdity of it all. And all I can do is just embrace that absurdity. Just
Yeah.
be like, and one of our album is called Embrace the Chaos.
Mhm.
You know, so it's like that, it's kind of that mentality of you know, what is it? Camus says, picture Sisyphus happy. You know, like you're this grind of life of
Pushing the
pushing this
boulder up.
boulder up the mountain, and you want it to be like, oh, but at a certain point you got to just picture this guy's like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, this is my life. I'm doing this every day.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's the second time that's come up this week. That's so interesting. So obviously I need to be looking more into this. But yeah, like it's just like the theory, I guess, of how it is. We're just gonna keep going and keep going and not knowing any better, you know?
I mean, yeah, it's
Uh
life is
it just is what
complicated,
it is. Yeah.
and it could
Sometimes
be
it just be like
it
that.
just be like that.
Well, I guess we're coming to an end. I'm really, really again thankful and appreciative that you came here. You know, like you were saying at 51, reflecting back, what would you say is important about, you know, funding and training in the arts? Why is it still
Oh, I think it's really important. And as a band and as an individual, we've been very active in trying to push music programs, music education, arts in general in the school,
Yeah.
because it not only develops certain parts of your brain, whether or not you become an artist or whether or not you become
Mhm.
a musician, but it develops certain parts of your brain that's
Yeah.
going to be so helpful later in your life. How many people like have I encountered or you encountered where it's like, um, they use their art as therapy.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
I don't need a gig. I just
Mhm.
like to play my guitar, and it
Sometimes it's
makes
just
me
really
feel
nice
better.
to I miss having some expression sometimes because I was like, I just need to get it out there,
Right.
get it out of my system. Otherwise, it's gonna come out in some other
Yeah.
this is why we're doing this
Depression, yeah.
podcast. We have this creative energy that we need to let go, and we wanted to do a love letter and give back something to the education that did so much for us. And yeah, if people want to find out more about you, if they don't know about Ozomatli already, where can they find you?
Ozomatli's on every social media platform. So
Yeah. And then you can also come this May to LACHSApalooza
LACHSApalooza.
and see them live.
LACHSApalooza.
Tickets are available. You can get them online.
Yeah,
Yeah, again, what final question? Would you do it all over again?
100%.
Yeah.
Because I never knew anything else. I always wanted to be a musician, and maybe my teenage self would have been like, oh, you know, I mean, you know, because at the time of the styles, you know, I want to play guitar in a punk band and blow up, you know, be the next Fugazi or something. But I ended up in this band that really became so influential and put in so much work and has become a staple of LA culture. So I'm really thankful that I ended up where I ended up.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. Staple of LA culture, I would
Yeah.
say, for real. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
for
Alrighty, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
tuning in.
Hey, before you head out, do me a quick favor, like, follow, and subscribe. It really does help. The more you engage, the more the algorithm pushes us out there, and the more people we can reach about why arts and education matters. If you or someone you know is thinking about an art school, check your local district's website or search Performing Arts High School or Arts Magnet Program with your city. And just so you know, a magnet school is a public school with a special focus, like the arts, that pulls in students from all over with programs you won't find in a regular school. And if you're ready to do even more, hit the link in the show notes for Americans for the Arts Action Fund. They've got easy, fill-in-the-blank templates so you can write your reps about funding the arts and actually make a difference. Thanks for listening, thanks for caring, and remember, keep creating, keep supporting, and keep the spotlight shining on the arts.